Sarah stood in front of her grandmother's house, still in her funeral dress, staring at the yellow sold sign staked into the lawn. Her aunt had sold the house before the family had even buried Grandma.
They sold it before she was even in the ground.
The red pending sticker clung to the yellow sign like a fresh wound. The sale was already in motion.
This is Aunt Susan's doing. You sold her house before the funeral.
Someone had to be practical. Sarah, the bills don't stop.
The dumpster yawned open, already swallowing the detritus of a life, china, books, and the smell of old cedar.
Grandma's things are in there. You couldn't wait a single day?
Sarah moved to the dumpster and looked inside. Her grandmother's armchair, the floral one she'd read in every afternoon, lay twisted at the bottom.
She threw out the chair. Rose read to me in. It's like she's erasing everything.
But inside Sarah's grief, a memory surfaced, the 2 years she'd lived in that house, caring for her grandmother, Rose, as her body slowly failed.
You have gentle hands, Sarah. Just like your mother, but kinder. Tell me again about when you planted the roses, Grandma.
With your grandfather, the year we bought this place. He said flowers were a waste of water, but he dug every hole himself.
But the last months were harder. Rose's voice thinned to a whisper. One evening, she gripped Sarah's wrist with startling strength.
The lawyer fixed the house so you'd be safe. Don't let them take it.
What lawyer? What did she mean? Rose was too weak to explain.
3 days later, Rose slipped away in the night. Sarah held her hand until the warmth faded.
I never asked her more. I was too busy trying to stop death.
Now, standing on the sidewalk, the dumpster still yawning behind her, those words surfaced like a buoy in dark water. The funeral home sign read Turner in white script, but the real monument, the house, was already being sold from under them, listed before the death certificate was dry. Inside, Susan moved through the crowd like a hostess who'd already collected the admission fee. She gripped her lockbox as if it were a scepter.
I sold Mother's house. It was the only sensible move. She left behind more bills than assets, and I wasn't going to let them pile up.
She's turned greed into a virtue. Every relative in this room is nodding along like she's a martyr.
Sarah stood near the casket, her throat tight. The white roses on the spray were perfect, but all she saw was the dumpster.
That last night, Rose said the lawyer fixed things. Why didn't I ask her more?
The closing is set for the 15th. Cash offer, no contingencies. I am just being practical.
At the graveside, rain began to fall like a slow leak from the sky. Susan held an umbrella one-handed, checking her phone with the other. Sarah placed the last rose herself, a pink one from the garden, her grandmother's favorite. She pressed it into the wet earth.
She said it so I'd be safe. There's a lawyer. There's a document. I'm going to find it.
After the burial, Sarah drove back to the house. The sold sign looked bigger now, or maybe she was just smaller. She found Susan inside, alone, directing a cleanup crew that wasn't there. The lockbox sat on the kitchen counter like a trophy.
Still here? You should be at the reception with the others.
How did you list it without telling me? It was her house, not just an asset to flip.
I am next of kin. I didn't need your permission. The estate's settled that way.
Sarah's mind flashed back to Rose's whisper. The lawyer fixed the house, so you'd be safe. The words felt like a key she couldn't find the lock for.
What lawyer? I have to find out.
Don't make trouble, Sarah. The sale is done. If you try anything, you'll just embarrass yourself and hurt the family.
She's afraid I'll find something.
That night, Sarah opened her laptop and typed county property records into the search bar. The next morning, Sarah parked outside the county recorder's office, a squat building of concrete and bureaucracy that smelled faintly of old paper. Inside, a clerk pointed her to a public terminal. The screen flickered with decades of old data, waiting to be searched. She typed the address. The property file loaded, line by line, and then she saw it. 3 years earlier, Rose Turner had deeded the home into a revocable living trust, with Sarah Turner named as successor trustee and sole beneficiary. The trust had been recorded, but never mentioned to the family. The title had never belonged to Susan, and she had no authority to sell.
Rose did it. She really did it. The house isn't just sentimental, it's legally mine. But if the title's in a trust, how did Susan sell it? She'd have needed a forged deed.
She printed the document, the paper warm in her hands, and read it again to be sure.
I need a lawyer right now.
The search had given her a weapon, but the clock was already ticking. The closing was set for the 15th, and Susan wouldn't wait. Sarah stood outside the law office of Claire Bennett, the name pulled from the trust document Rose had left behind.
I've been expecting you, Miss Turner. Rose said you'd come. The trust is irrevocable. You are the sole beneficiary. Susan never had any right to list the house. She managed the sale with a forged heir affidavit. Look at the notary stamp. It doesn't match any registered notary. That's a felony.
She forged a document. My aunt committed a felony to steal what was already mine.
We record the trust and file a lis pendens first thing tomorrow. That will cloud the title and void the sale.
Do it. Whatever it takes.
Claire handed her a copy of the affidavit, the fraudulent claim that had nearly stolen her grandmother's legacy.
She thought she could cut me out. Not anymore.
When Sarah left the office, the legal machinery was already turning. Susan didn't know it yet, but her sale was already dead. The next morning, Sarah and Claire arrived at the recorder's office before it opened, the trust and lis pendens documents in hand.
Record these now. This title needs to freeze before the closing.
The clerk stamped the lis pendens and recorded the trust. The screen blinked and the property was legally clouded. Across town, Susan sat at the closing table. Drumming her nails on the oak, the buyer's chair was still empty. The title officer appeared in the doorway, holding a single sheet of paper, her expression tight.
What is this? A lis pendens. I am the heir. The title is clean.
The officer explained the trust had been recorded that morning, breaking the chain of title. Susan's sale was dead.
She planted a trust. That little snake will regret this.
At the recorder's office, Sarah and Claire walked out into the morning light. The filing was complete.
It's done. The house is safe.
Within the hour, the cash buyer pulled out, his deposit refunded. The sale was void. Susan's deal shattered on a chain of title that didn't include her. Susan's phone buzzed against her ear. Her voice cracked across the line, raw with venom.
You think this is over? I'll drag you through every court in this county. You and that lawyer.
The house was never yours to sell, Susan. Grandma made sure of that.
I am your blood. And you'd tear this family apart for a rotting house?
You started this the moment you forged an affidavit. I am just finishing it.
The line went dead. Sarah set the phone down, her hands steady for the first time in days.
We file a fraudulent conveyance claim now. It'll block any future attempt and put the forgery on record.
File it. I am not backing down.
The fraudulent conveyance claim would be served the next morning. Susan's legal nightmare was only beginning. At Claire's office, the two women spread the affidavit across the desk. Claire ran a finger under the notary stamp, her expression grim.
The stamp belongs to a notary who died 6 years ago. Susan used a dead woman's seal. It's an open and shut forgery.
She used a dead notary? She thought this would hold up in court?
We have enough to pursue criminal charges once the DA sees this. But first, we need to preserve every piece of evidence.
I am not letting her get away with it. What else do we need?
That afternoon, Sarah drove to the house. The sold sign still stood, but the dumpster was gone, replaced by an empty driveway. A neighbor told her that Susan had rented a storage unit on the edge of town. Sarah got the address, her heart pounding. The storage unit door rolled up, and Sarah saw boxes of her grandmother's life stacked in the dim space. She found a worn photo album, its leather cover still smelling of Rose's garden. She hugged it to her chest.
I have the proof. More than enough to stop her.
That evening, the calls began. Distant cousins, her mother's brother, all pleading for unity, all unknowing.
They don't know about the forgery. They just see a fight over money.
Sarah, please. I made a mistake. Drop the claim. You get the house. I'll cover your legal fees.
A mistake. You forged a document, Susan. That's not a mistake. It's a crime.
If you do this, I lose everything. My license, my reputation. I am your aunt. I helped raise you.
She's right about one thing. It would destroy her. But she tried to destroy me first.
She ended the call, the weight of the decision pressing on her chest. The house felt silent and heavy.
File the claim. Claire. Everything we have. I am not letting her manipulate me out of this.
I'll file first thing. The DA will receive a copy. It's the right choice, Sarah.
That night, Sarah sat alone with the photo album, thinking of Rose. The house would stay. The roses would bloom again. At 9 a.m., Claire walked the fraudulent conveyance claim into the court and delivered a copy of the forged affidavit to the district attorney's office. By noon, a deputy served Susan Turner at her real estate office. She read the claim, her face draining of color.
She's claiming I forged the deed. This is harassment. I'll have my attorney squash this. They can't prove anything. The notary had a stamp. It's a clerical error.
That afternoon, an investigator from the DA's office pulled the original notary records. The dead notary's name matched the affidavit stamp.
They're already investigating. That was fast.
The evidence is clear. They'll probably bring forgery charges. Susan will have to answer for this.
So it's real. She could go to prison for what she did.
The fraudulent conveyance claim attached to the title permanently. No buyer would touch the property without Sarah's explicit consent. Sarah held the photo album tighter. She had kept her promise to Rose, but the fight was far from over. Susan stormed into the title company, demanding her original file. The closing manager refused, citing the active lis pendens and DA inquiry.
It's my file. I brought the buyer. I paid the fees. You can't keep my own paperwork from me.
She left empty-handed. The original affidavit was already in the district attorney's evidence locker.
If I can't get that affidavit back, they'll hang me. The stamp was a risk, but I never thought they'd dig this deep.
2 days later, Susan's managing broker called. Pending the investigation, her real estate license was immediately suspended.
Suspended. I've built this practice for 20 years. They can't do this on a niece's accusation.
She tore a listing agreement in half. Useless now, her phone rang with calls from clients who'd seen the news.
The DA is moving faster than expected. Susan's license is gone, and the forgery charges are almost certain.
She made herself unemployable trying to steal my home.
Susan packed her office into a single box. Her navy suit wrinkled, her lockbox sitting empty on the desk as she closed the door. 2 days after the suspension, Susan appeared on Sarah's doorstep, her face hollowed, the lockbox absent from her hands for the first time.
Sarah, please. I am begging you. Drop the claim. I'll never touch the house again. I just need my life back.
You forged a document. You listed the house before the funeral. You threw out her armchair. And now you want mercy.
I did it for the family. Your grandmother was too sentimental. She didn't understand the bills. I was going to give you a share.
A share of what was already mine. You never once asked what Rose wanted. You never cared.
You are just like her, stubborn and blind. Enjoy your victory, then. It'll be a cold house with no family left.
The family I lost was never really there. The one that matters is in that house's walls.
Susan's face twisted, and she turned away without another word. The door clicked shut, and Sarah leaned against it, breathing hard.
That was the last time I'll ever see her. I am finally free.
She had severed the last thread of guilt. Now, all that remained was the law's unfolding. The next morning, Sarah drove to the house. The sold sign was gone, yanked from the lawn overnight. The porch stood bare and quiet. She walked around back to the rose garden. The canes were overgrown, but new buds pushed through the tangles, pink and defiant.
You planted these the year you were married. I am not letting them die.
She knelt in the dirt, pulling weeds by hand. The earth was cool, and the work was simple and good.
This is what she wanted. Not a sale, but someone to keep it alive.
She went to the storage unit one last time, loading her car with the remaining boxes, china wrapped in newspaper, old letters, the armchair cushions. Back at the house, she carried the boxes inside, placing them in the empty living room. The lace curtains still hung at the windows.
It still smells like her, cedar and tea roses.
She dragged the armchair out of storage and set it on the porch, facing the garden, just where Rose had always kept it. The house was still empty, but it was hers. And for the first time, that was enough. Over the next week, the truth filtered through the family. The dead notary's stamp, the forged affidavit, one by one, relatives called Sarah.
Yes, the notary died 6 years ago. Susan used her stamp.
Her cousin invited her to dinner. The table had an empty chair where Susan used to sit, a silent demarcation. No one mentioned her name, but the absence was louder than any argument. Sarah felt a strange lightness. After dinner, she drove home and opened her journal. The page was blank, but the house felt full again.
I don't need her. I have more than enough.
Outside, the roses had survived the first frost. They would bloom again, and so would she.
Grandma would understand why I had to do it.
The chair remained empty. Susan was not welcome, but the fracture was healing around the edges, and when the forgery charges came, Sarah would be ready. Not for vengeance, but for the law to speak what the family could not. 2 weeks later, Claire's name flashed on Sarah's phone. The investigation had moved faster than anyone predicted.
The DA has enough for an arrest warrant, Sarah. Forgery in the 2nd degree. They're signing it this afternoon.
So it's really happening. She'll be charged with a felony.
Yes, and you'll need to testify. I'll prepare you, but it won't be easy.
I understand. I am not afraid of facing her. I am afraid of what this will cost, but I am not backing down.
She set the phone down, the weight of the coming trial settling in her chest. Outside, a cold wind bent the rose canes.
Rose would want me to see it through. The truth is the only thing that can't be forged.
She opened her journal and wrote a single line, "I will testify." Then she closed it, the ink drying like a vow.
We'll meet tomorrow to go over your testimony. The truth is already on your side.
That night, Sarah stood in the dark living room, the house silent around her. The storm was coming, but she was ready. At dawn, a sheriff's deputy knocked on Susan's door. The warrant was served on the porch, her wrists cuffed before the neighbors could see. The charge read, forgery in the 2nd degree, a felony. Her signed affidavit, the dead notary's stamp, appended as evidence.
They took her in, Sarah. The arraignment is set for Friday. You don't have to be there.
I am not celebrating Claire, but I am not sorry either. She earned this.
She thought of the grave, the pink rose she'd laid on the wet earth, and the promise that rose through the grief. She had kept it.
They treated me like a criminal. 20 years in this town, and now I am nothing.
But the rose garden had already decided. New shoots pushed through the frost, and the house waited, empty but expectant.
The trial is set for 6 weeks from now. I'll be there with you every step.
I will testify. It's the only way to close this chapter for good.
Outside, the autumn light dimmed, but the path ahead was finally clear. The law would now do what the family could not, deliver justice. The trial opened on a gray Monday. The courtroom filled with family and reporters. Susan's attorney argued a clerical mistake, but the county records proved the notary died 6 years earlier.
I saw the yellow sign before the funeral. Her armchair was in a dumpster.
The prosecution displayed the forged affidavit. The The notary stamp was circled in red, a dead woman's seal. Susan's face crumpled. Her hands, once so sure on a lockbox, lay limp in her lap. The jury returned in under 2 hours. Guilty of forgery in the 2nd degree, the judge imposed probation, a fine, and permanent revocation of her real estate license.
It's done. The title is clean. The trust stands.
The house is mine, not by verdict, but by Rose's foresight.
The law had spoken. What Susan tried to steal was now legally, irrevocably restored. The next morning, Sarah packed a suitcase and a box of essentials and drove to the house, the empty street still waking. She unlocked the door, the old lock clicking open with a sound she remembered. The scent of cedar and tea roses still lingered.
Hello, house. I am home.
She carried the box to the kitchen and set Rose's floral teapot on the stove, her grandmother's initials worn on the bottom. She placed a framed photo of Rose on the windowsill overlooking the garden, where the light caught the glass. The kettle whistled, filling the silence with a domestic hum. She poured the water over tea leaves, watching them steep.
This is where I am supposed to be.
The afternoon light slid through the lace curtains, tracing familiar shapes on the floorboards. Outside, the rose garden stirred in the breeze. Sarah sat in the window seat, cup cradled in her hands, and watched a sparrow land on the porch railing. The sold sign was gone. The dumpster was gone. Only the house remained, and it was finally truly hers. The week after the trial, a for rent sign appeared on Susan's office door. Her name had been scraped off the window. Inside, Susan packed the last files into a single box, her navy suit replaced by a wrinkled cardigan. The lockbox sat empty on the desk. A few days later, a letter arrived at the house. Sarah recognized Susan's sharp handwriting on the envelope.
She wants me to read her excuses, to feel sorry for her.
She stood by the window, the envelope unopened, and remembered the armchair in the dumpster, the lockbox at the funeral.
Number. I don't need to know what she has to say.
She tucked the letter, unopened, into the back of Rose's photo album, pressing it flat behind a picture of the rose garden.
Some things don't need an answer.
Outside, the rose garden was heavy with new buds, the pink ones Rose had loved. The frost had passed. The house held its peace, and so did Sarah. She was done. The rose garden burst into color overnight, deep red blooms heavy with morning dew. Sarah knelt among the canes, gloved hands pulling the last of the winter weeds.
She would have loved this. Every bloom a conversation she started years ago.
She pruned the dead wood, shaping the bushes, feeling the thorns prick like old memories.
You are not gone, Rose. Not really.
That evening, she settled into the armchair Rose had always claimed, the floral one, now repaired, facing the garden.
This chair used to be hers. Now it's mine. That's the way she wanted it.
She poured a cup of tea from Rose's pot and watched the sun sink behind the pines. A quiet smile crossed her face, the first in months that wasn't shadowed by loss. The house breathed around her, full of cedar and roses. It was home. As dusk settled, warm light bloomed behind the Turner house windows, and the rose garden glowed. A single butterfly, yellow as the sold sign, landed on a newly opened rose. On the porch, Sarah stood with a cup of tea, watching the garden settle. She had fought for this house with the quiet steel Rose had planted in her. The past no longer stung. The house had become what it was always meant to be, a refuge. Sarah touched the small gold pendant at her throat, the one Rose gave her. Behind her, the roses bloomed, each petal a word in a long conversation. The butterfly lifted and drifted over the fence, a mark of color against the sky. Sarah turned inside, the screen door clicking shut, as it had for Rose 1,000 times. The house that Rose protected now protects her granddaughter, and somewhere in the garden, the roses know